Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, I wanted to get on here and make a real quick video before I leave because today is our big monthly meeting day and got to leave here in just a few minutes to head over to our meeting place to get things set up for it this afternoon. And excited about that because as things continue to worsen, we need this community connection, relationship, tribe more than ever. And so excited to meet every month with all the wonderful folks there, and so we can talk and plan and learn and share with each other. So hopefully you can find something like that in your area, and if you're putting on meetings like that in your area and you would like them to be announced, shoot me an email a week or two in advance and give me a chance to kind of make the announcement for you and send people to your direction also. A couple of things. I mean, the food stuff, we've been talking about this, and I know that you've probably watched other videos from other people talking about this. Folks, I think we're talking like very serious levels. Depending on what numbers you use and how you look at it, we're talking somewhere in the neighborhood of around 40% is what it looks like right now. 40% of the world's grain supply has either been shut off or greatly restricted, at least for the time being. And this looks like this is probably going to carry through at least for this growing season. This is quite significant. I don't think people quite have wrapped their heads around this. All the news that's going on other things, even amongst the kind of prepping community. There's some, but there's still others that just haven't quite wrapped their heads around how significant that is. I understand that there's a big looming threat of potential World War III. Every day as more threats are made and as the war in Ukraine goes on, there's always that greater potential for NATO to become involved, whether purposely or accidentally or a false flag or whatever, which would also include the United States. And I get that. But this whole food supply stuff, which has been foretold, predicted or planned out actually by the world's elites at the World Economic Forum and other groups like that, it's fallen into place, folks. As you all know, that Russia is the #1 wheat producer on the planet. They export. They're the wheat king. And they have typically exported their wheat supply to Europe and a few other areas. Well, they're no longer doing that, and they stopped doing that before this war started, and they wouldn't be able to do it now because of all the sanctions and everything. Most likely that would be very difficult. They're now pretty much exclusively selling it to China. China, who is the largest holder of basically food. The world's reserve foods like corn and wheat and other grains like that are very critical to food on the planet. China already has most of it. You know, their numbers are in the neighborhood of 40, 50 to 60% of the world's reserves when it comes to food, because they've been buying this stuff up like crazy for the last few years. And now they're buying all of their wheat exclusively from Russia. And of course there's Ukraine. They're one of the top. They're in the top 5, top 6 producers of wheat. They're also a major producer of corn. They produce other grains. They also are the #1 producer of sunflower oil and seed. So they're a major player. A lot of people don't realize that Ukraine is considered one of the most perfect or the best agricultural countries on the planet. I was reading just the other day that of the globe on the planet, of the what's considered the black topsoil, black growing topsoil, the good stuff, that 25% of it land wise is in Ukraine. That's quite significant, folks. So that's the 2 big ones, but there's more. Moldova and Hungary have cut off. Now, they're not major players, but they do contribute to European supplies when it comes to grain. And they've basically said, we're not exporting anymore. You know, we're going to keep all of our stuff for ourselves because all of this stuff here going on is crazy and it's going to get bad. And we don't want our people starving because we sold it to everyone. So we're going to keep it. And that's what they're doing. Turkey and Venezuela, who are fairly major players. They're typically considered in the top 20 grain producers on the planet. Again, depending on what grains and how you look at it. So I'm just trying to do an overall average based on the numbers that I've been looking at. They both are restricting and controlling. The government has come in and they're going to decide that they're going to highly regulate and control their exports. They're still going to do it, but the government's going to control it, restrict it, and we'll see how that works out. I suspect it's going to end up being less on the market because they're probably thinking the same thing that everyone else is thinking. This is going to get bad, and people are going to start starving, and we have an obligation to take care of our own first, so let's keep as much back as we can. So when you add that all together, because Russia and Ukraine alone make up 30% of the market, and you add the others up, you're looking at somewhere between 30 and 40% of the world's grain supply, which is the main food for the planet. Now, do you think that we're going to have trouble? Because you take all that I just said and you add to that there's major shortages in fertilizer. Shortages and price increases of 200 to 300% of price increase on fertilizer and shortages. So there's that. And then you've got what they believe to be is probably going to be an even worse year when it comes to the droughts out west. So it's going to hurt the growing season even more that way. And you look at other countries, that Australia, look at the flooding, the massive 1,000-year flood in Australia. There's other places that are dealing with really harsh weather. And you add that all together and then take a large chunk, 30 to 40% of the world's grain supply, and either completely remove it from the market or highly restrict it. That's significant, folks. We're talking like famine level repercussions because of this. And I feel like I'm always the type that tries to rein it back and not sound too crazy on here and blow things out of proportion, but I don't think that I am on this. When you start looking at the numbers and the movements in other countries of how they're handling this, I think we're looking at something quite serious, folks. If I were you, I would be looking at very quickly, because these prices are already high. Wheat is absolutely skyrocketing. I mean, it's going to the moon, and it was already kind of in a higher place. I would look at what you can buy. I've been mentioning that on here before. Look at, like your small stores, bulk stores. Look at Amish Mennonite community stores, Latter-day Saints stores. A lot of those sell bulk supplies of wheat. There are other places that you can get it. And I can't remember right now, just slipped my mind. But there are some other places that you can get it. I would be looking at purchasing some of this. And if some of these places, when you buy in bulk, you're buying 50-pound bags, the larger amount that you buy, you might be able to get a price reduction. And that's where community comes in. If several families put their money together and they go in and they buy a ton of wheat, you might be able to get it pretty cheap at a wholesale price. I would also seriously look at animal food. If you raise any kind of livestock, you need to be serious about stocking up on that, or growing your own, or having an alternative to feeding them, because if you depend upon grains to feed your animals, the price is going to skyrocket. You may not be able to afford to feed your animals. And so you need to start making quick plans now for that. If you have a bunch of chickens and you can't afford the chicken feed because it's skyrocketed or it's just not in stock. I went the other day and bought some chicken feed, and the kind that we normally buy for our egg layers, they were completely out, and he told me that the supply that they get it from was completely out. They had none. Is that just a strange thing, or is that because of all this that's happening? Folks, you need to get ready for that. Now, as far as your own food, there's the stocking up, but you need to be growing. And I'll probably make a separate video going deeper into this. just to give you a quick overview, our plan this year when it comes to growing our own food is to limit the variety. You know, a lot of people are like us. When you grow, you have your staple vegetables that you grow, and then you have a few other things that you try out, and you know, you like this one, so you grow that one and this one and that one. We're going to cut it down to probably 4, maybe 5 things. We're expanding our garden greatly, and we're just going to, you know, plant heavily on the things that we know that's going to produce the best, produce the most calories, the most volume of harvest, because with all this stuff that's going on, I'm not going to be so concerned this year with the variety and cool little vegetables and plants and things like that. I'm going to be concerned with putting up as much food as possible so that we can survive and not have to pay ridiculous prices for food or just not even have it available. And I'll go into that in another video later on this week. But the point is, folks, you start looking at these numbers, and I'm in a hurry right now, so I'm probably not going to be doing a good job of editing and putting all this information up. I have posted this information over at tphnetwork.com, which is our exclusive standalone social media, social network, whatever site, whatever it's called. And you can go over there and join up and read the information there. And I may go into a greater detail at a later video on this. You can also look at YouTube channels like Adapt 2030 and Ice Age Farmer. They both have been putting out an immense amount of data and information on this in the last few days in several different videos. But yes, World War III is a strong possibility. It's becoming a greater possibility. And in the background, there is that greater possibility than normal of nuclear threat. I get all that. And I'm hearing things that there's a lot of tension because of that. But folks, don't forget about this food stuff. I mean, crude oil's at 115 now. I remember just a couple of weeks ago, I said, man, if it hits 110, it's bad. If it hits 120, we're at a recession, hard recession. Well, it's at 115 now, and it just keeps going up, and I think it's going to. But this food stuff, this is going to be bad if we don't get prepared for it. I mean, we could see some very serious wars. Wars happen because of this. I mean, this is exactly how wars happen, and they have happened in recent past even because of skyrocketing food prices or unavailable food because people fear starvation. I mean, above all, that's like the #1 survival instinct is to not starve to death. And things could get out of hand quite rapidly. Not just in Ukraine and Russia, but all over. And of course, as we all know, this is all planned. I believe that. I believe it. It's all planned. More and more as the puzzle pieces get snapped into place. The Klaus Schwab and all of his cronies, this is all planned. It's like George Carlin once said, it's a big game, folks, and you're not in it. And that's what we're watching. All right, folks. Hope to see many of you at the meeting today. I'm looking for it to be a great day. And the rest of you, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.